The Galactic Council had made the rules very clear 300 years ago. Sector 7 Gamma was a death zone. No ships were allowed to enter. No rescue missions. No trade routes. Nothing. The two great empires of the galaxy, the Vorthik and the Kasari, had been fighting there since before humans had learned to build rockets. Their war was old. Their hate was older. And the Council had decided long ago that the best thing to do was to let them kill each other in peace. Every species in the galaxy knew about Sector 7 Gamma. Mothers told their children stories about the endless battle. Pilots changed their routes to avoid even getting close to the border. Ships that went in did not come out. It was simple. It was understood. And for 300 years, no one had been stupid enough to break the rule. Then the humans arrived. Commander Lisa Grant stood on the bridge of the USS Relentless and stared at the main screen. She was a woman of 42 years, with short brown hair and eyes that had seen too many bad days. Her uniform was neat and clean, but there were lines on her face that spoke of hard choices and sleepless nights. She had commanded this ship for 6 years, and, in that time, she had learned one important truth about space. It did not care about you, and it would kill you if you let it. The Relentless was a Hercules-class heavy cruiser. It was one of the biggest ships in the human fleet. 240 crew members called it home. It had enough weapons to destroy a small moon and enough armor to survive almost anything. Almost. The key word was almost. Because what Lisa Grant was looking at on the screen was not almost anything. It was everything. Sector 7 Gamma burned with weapons fire. Even from this distance, she could see the flashes of plasma cannons and the silent explosions of dying ships. Hundreds of vessels were locked in combat, tearing each other apart in a dance of death that had been going on longer than human civilization. And somewhere in the middle of that hell was a small research vessel called the Wandering Star. Lieutenant Danny Vega sat at the sensor station. He was young, maybe 25, with dark hair and nervous hands. He had been on the Relentless for 2 years, and he was good at his job. But right now, his job was telling him things he did not want to know. "Commander," he said, his voice tight, "I have confirmed the position of the Wandering Star. It drifted into the battle zone 3 days ago after an engine failure. It is currently located in the central engagement area, approximately 47 minutes from our position at maximum speed." Lisa Grant did not look away from the screen. "Life signs?" 32. "All human. They are alive, Commander. For now." 32 people, scientists, researchers, men and women who had gone into space to study stars and planets and the mysteries of the universe. They were not soldiers. They were not trained for combat. They were just people who had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. And now they were trapped in the middle of the biggest battle in the galaxy. Lieutenant Commander Pete Howard sat at the helm. He was older than Danny, maybe 35, with a calm face and steady hands. He had been flying ships since he was 18, and there was very little that scared him. But when he looked at the tactical display, even he felt a cold feeling in his stomach. "Commander," he said slowly, "if we go in there, we are not coming out." Lisa Grant finally turned away from the screen. She looked at her bridge crew, at the men and women who had followed her into danger more times than she could count. They were scared. She could see it in their eyes. And they had every right to be. "I know," she said. The bridge was silent. No one moved. No one spoke. They all knew what was at stake. Chief Engineer Samuel Drake called in from the engine room. His voice came through the speakers, rough and tired. "Commander, I have been listening to the tactical data. Those are Vorthik and Kasari ships out there. Their weapons technology is at least 50 years ahead of ours. One direct hit from a Kesari plasma cannon will take down our shields. 2 hits will crack our hull. 3 hits and we are dead. Thank you, Sam, Lisa said. What about our engines? Engines are running at 110%. I can push them to 120 for a short time, but if I do that, we might lose them completely. And then we are sitting ducks. Lisa nodded. She had expected this. The Relentless was a good ship, but it was not built to fight alien armadas. It was built to explore, to protect human colonies, to show the flag in friendly ports. Going into Sector 7 Gamma was not just dangerous. It was insane, but those were her people in there. 32 humans who were going to die. If she did not do something, she walked to the center of the bridge and stood in front of her command chair. Her crew watched her, waiting for her decision. She could see the fear in their faces, but she could see something else too. Trust. They trusted her to make the right call. Danny, she said, what is the current status of the battle? Danny checked his sensors. At least 40 Vorthic cruisers engaged with approximately 80 Kesari gunships and support vessels. There are also several capital ships on both sides. The fighting is heavy. Neither side is winning. Are they paying attention to us? Not yet, Commander. We are still outside their sensor range. But the moment we cross into the battle zone, they will see us. Lisa looked at the screen again. She thought about the 32 people on the wandering star. She thought about their families back on Earth. She thought about what it would mean if she did nothing and let them die. And then she thought about what it meant to be human. Navigation, she said. Plot a course directly through the center of the engagement. Maximum speed. Pete Howard stared at her. Commander, that is a straight line to the heaviest fighting. We will be taking fire from both sides. I know. Do it. Pete hesitated for only a moment. Then he turned back to his console and began entering the coordinates. His hands were shaking slightly, but his voice was steady. Course plotted, Commander. Ready to engage. Lisa sat down in her command chair and gripped the armrests. Communications. Open a channel on all frequencies. I want everyone in that battle zone to hear this. Lieutenant Amy Chun at the communications station nodded. She was a small woman with quick fingers and a sharp mind. Channel open, Commander. Lisa took a deep breath. This was it. The moment of no return. Once she spoke these words, there would be no going back. This is Commander Lisa Grant of the United Earthship Relentless. To all vessels in Sector 7 Gamma, we are entering the battle zone to rescue human civilians trapped on the research vessel Wandering Star. We have no quarrel with either side in this conflict. We are not here to fight. We are here for our people. Do not engage us, and we will not engage you. But if you fire on us, we will defend ourselves. Relentless out. She nodded to Amy, who closed the channel. The bridge was quiet. Everyone was looking at her. Danny Vega was the first to speak. Commander, do you really think they will let us through? Lisa Grant looked at the distant flashes of weapons fire on the screen. She thought about 300 years of war. She thought about the alien minds that had been killing each other since before humans had left their planet. No, she said honestly. I do not think they will let us through, but we are going anyway. She turned to Pete Howard. Engage. The Relentless surged forward, its engines roaring as it accelerated toward the battle zone. On the screen, the distant lights of weapons fire grew brighter and closer. And somewhere in the middle of all that death and destruction, 32 humans waited for rescue. They did not know if anyone was coming. They did not know if anyone cared. But Lisa Grant cared, and she was coming for them, even if it killed her. The USS Relentless crossed into Sector 7 Gamma at 0347 hours, ship time. The moment it passed the invisible line that marked the edge of the battle zone, every sensor on the bridge began to scream. Danny Vega worked his console with desperate speed, trying to track all the contacts that were suddenly appearing on his screen. There were so many ships, so many weapons, so much death happening all around them. Commander, I am counting over 160 vessels in immediate sensor range. Both Vorthik and Kesari. They are everywhere. Lisa Grant watched the main screen as the battle unfolded before her eyes. She had never seen anything like it. Ships the size of buildings were tearing each other apart. Beams of green and blue energy cut through the darkness. Explosions bloomed in silence, bright and terrible. Bodies and debris floated in the void, the remains of crews that had died fighting a war that had no end. "Stay on course," she said quietly. "Do not deviate." Pete Howard kept his hands on the helm, guiding the Relentless through the outer edge of the engagement. His face was pale, but his flying was perfect. He twisted the ship left to avoid a piece of wreckage, then right to dodge a stray plasma bolt that had been aimed at someone else. "They see us, Commander," Danny reported. "Multiple ships are breaking off from the main engagement. They are heading our way." Lisa leaned forward in her chair. "How many?" "5 Kesari gunships." "No, wait, 7. They are moving fast." On the other side of the battle zone, Fleet Commander Keseth of the Vorthik Empire was watching the same human ship on his tactical display. He was an old warrior with gray scales and eyes that had seen 1,000 battles. He had been fighting the Kesari since he was young, and he expected to die fighting them. That was the way of things, but this human ship confused him. What are they doing? He asked his second-in-command, a young officer named Torval. Torval shook his head. "I do not know, Fleet Commander. They are flying directly into the battle. It makes no sense." Keseth watched the small ship on his screen. It was moving with purpose, cutting through the chaos like it knew exactly where it was going. And it was heading toward the center of the engagement, where the fighting was worst. "They sent a message," Torval continued. "They say they are here to rescue their people. A civilian ship is trapped somewhere in the zone." Keseth considered this. He had fought many species in his long life. Some were cowards. Some were brave. Some were smart, and some were stupid. But he had never seen anyone fly into certain death for a handful of civilians. "Interesting," he said, back on the Relentless. The Kesari gunships were closing fast. Danny tracked them on his sensors, calling out their approach. 7 hostiles, Commander. Weapons hot. They will be in firing range in 90 seconds. Lisa turned to her tactical officer, Lieutenant Rick Donovan. He was a big man with a thick beard and calm eyes. He had been in more firefights than anyone else on the ship, and he was very good at what he did. "Rick, power up all weapons. Point defense systems active. But do not fire unless they fire first." Rick nodded and began working his console. "Understood, Commander. Weapons hot. Ready to engage on your order." The Relentless continued forward. On the screen, the 7 Kesari gunships grew larger as they approached. They were smaller than the Relentless, but they were fast and dangerous. Their plasma cannons could burn through human armor like it was paper. 60 seconds to weapons range, Danny said. Lisa stood up from her chair. She could feel her heart pounding in her chest, but she kept her face calm. Her crew needed to see that she was not afraid, even if she was. "Communications," she said. "Repeat our message. Let them know we are not looking for a fight." Amy Chun sent the message again, broadcasting it on all frequencies. For a moment, nothing happened. The Kesari gunships kept coming, their weapons glowing with deadly energy dot. Then the first ship fired. A bolt of blue plasma streaked toward the Relentless. Pete Howard saw it coming and threw the ship into a hard turn. The plasma bolt missed by less than 10 meters, close enough that the heat of it washed over the hull. "They are engaging," Danny shouted. More plasma bolts followed the first, filling the space around the Relentless with deadly blue fire. Pete flew like a man possessed, spinning and diving and rolling the big cruiser through the storm of weapons fire. It should have been impossible. A ship that size should not have been able to move like that. But Pete was the best pilot in the fleet, and he was fighting for his life. "Return fire," Lisa ordered. Rick Donovan opened up with everything they had. The Relentless was not as advanced as the alien ships, but it was not helpless either. Railguns spat streams of metal at impossible speeds. Missiles launched from hidden tubes, seeking their targets with electronic mines. Point defense lasers swept the space around the ship, intercepting incoming fire before it could hit. One of the Kasari gunships exploded as a railgun round punched through its hull. Another lost its engines to a missile strike and began to spin out of control. But the others kept coming, their plasma cannons blazing. Then something strange happened. A beam of green energy came from the other side of the battle, slicing through one of the Kasari gunships and destroying it instantly. Lisa stared at the screen, confused. What was that? Who fired? Danny checked his sensors, then looked up with wide eyes. "Commander, that was a Vorthic destroyer." "They fired on the Kasari gunship? Why would they do that?" No one had an answer. Fleet Commander Keseth watched the human ship fight for its life, and he felt something he had not felt in a very long time: respect. These humans were outgunned and outmatched. They should have turned and run the moment they saw the battle. But instead, they kept going. They kept fighting. They were still trying to reach their people. He turned to Torval. "Order the 6th Wing to provide cover fire for the human vessel." Torval stared at him like he had lost his mind. "Fleet Commander, they are not our allies. They are not even part of this war." "I know," Kessa said. "Do it anyway." On the other side of the battle, High Matriarch Zalessa of the Kasari Dominion watched the same events unfold on her screen. She was a tall creature with blue scales and cold eyes. She had ruled the Kasari for 60 years, and she had never lost a battle. She did not intend to start now. "Destroy that human ship," she ordered. Her officers obeyed. More gunships broke off from the main engagement and joined the attack on the Relentless. But now they were also taking fire from the Vorthic ships that Keseth had sent to help the humans. The battle zone had become even more chaotic. Lisa Grant saw the Vorthic ships engaging the Kasari attackers, and she did not understand what was happening. But she did not have time to figure it out. She had a mission to complete. Navigation. What is our ATA to the Wandering Star? Pete checked his console while still dodging weapons fire. 31 minutes at current speed. "But Commander, we are taking a lot of damage. I do not know if we can make it." Lisa looked around her bridge. Sparks were flying from damaged consoles. The lights flickered as power systems struggled to keep up. She could smell smoke in the air, and she could hear the distant sound of emergency alarms from deeper in the ship. "We will make it," she said. "We have to." Chief Engineer Samuel Drake called from the engine room. "Commander, I am losing power to the port shields. If we take another hit on that side, we are in trouble." "Understood, Sam. Do what you can." The Relentless pushed deeper into the battle zone. Around it, ships from two great empires continued their ancient war. Plasma bolts and energy beams crisscrossed the darkness. Explosions lit up the void like angry stars. And in the middle of it all, one human ship kept flying forward. Danny Vega looked at his sensor display and saw something that made his blood run cold. "Commander, I am detecting a large contact ahead." "Very large." "It is a Kasari dreadnought." Lisa turned to look at the screen. The dreadnought was massive, easily 10 times the size of the Relentless. Its hull was covered with weapons, and its armor looked thick enough to stop anything the humans could throw at it, and it was sitting right between them and the down. Wandering star. Can we go around it? Lisa asked. Pete shook his head. Not without adding at least 20 minutes to our journey. And I do not think the wandering star has that much time. Lisa stared at the giant ship on her screen. She thought about the 32 people waiting for rescue. She thought about the promise she had made when she became a commander, the promise to never leave anyone behind. Then we go through, she said. Pete looked at her. Rick looked at her. Danny looked at her. They all looked at her like she had gone insane. Maybe she had, but she was not going to stop. Not now. Not when they were so close. All hands, she said over the ship's intercom. Prepare for heavy combat. This is going to get rough. The Relentless accelerated toward the dreadnought, its weapons charging for the fight of its life. The Khazari dreadnought was called the Eternal Wrath. It was the flagship of High Matriarch Zalesa's personal fleet, and it had destroyed more ships than anyone could count. Its weapons could crack open planets. Its shields could stop almost anything. And right now, it was staring directly at the USS Relentless. On the bridge of the human ship, Commander Lisa Grant stood in front of her command chair and looked at the monster on her screen. She had never seen anything so big. It made the Relentless look like a toy. "Commander," Danny Vega said, his voice shaking, "the dreadnought is charging weapons. All weapons. If it fires at us with full power, our shields will not last 2 seconds." Lisa knew he was right. She had seen the specifications for Khazari dreadnoughts. One of those ships had enough firepower to destroy an entire human fleet. And there was only one of her, but she also saw something else on her screen. Something that gave her a small spark of hope. "Danny, what is that behind the dreadnought? That smaller contact?" Danny checked his sensors. His eyes went wide. "Commander, that is the Wandering Star. The dreadnought has it in a tractor beam. They are holding our people hostage." Lisa felt her hands clench into fists. The Khazari were not just going to let them pass. They were using the civilian ship as a shield. It was a smart move. If the humans attacked the dreadnought, they might hit the Wandering Star. If they did nothing, the dreadnought would destroy them. "Open a channel to the dreadnought," Lisa ordered. Amy Chun worked her console. "Channel open, Commander." Lisa stood tall and faced the screen. She did not know what she was going to say. She just knew that she had to try. "This is Commander Lisa Grant of the USS Relentless to the Khazari dreadnought. You are holding our people. Release them immediately." For a long moment, there was no response. Then the screen flickered, and a face appeared. It was High Matriarch Zalesa herself, her blue scales gleaming in the light of her bridge. Her eyes were cold and empty, like the eyes of a snake. "Human," she said, her voice like ice. "You have entered our battle zone. You have killed our ships. You have allied yourself with our enemies. And now you dare to make demands?" Lisa did not look away. "I am not allied with anyone. I am here for my people. 32 scientists who have done nothing wrong. Let them go, and we will leave. You will never see us again." Zalesa laughed. It was not a pleasant sound. "You think I care about your scientists? You think I care about 32 meaningless lives? I have lost thousands of warriors in this battle zone. Thousands more will die before this war ends. Your people are nothing to me. Then why are you holding them?" The matriarch leaned forward, her eyes narrowing. "Because I want to see what you will do, human. I have heard stories about your species. They say you are brave. They say you never give up. They say you will fight to the death for each other." She smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "I want to see if the stories are true." Lisa felt a cold anger rising in her chest. This alien was playing with them. using their people as bait in some kind of sick game. Release them, she said again. This is your last warning. Zalessa laughed again. Or what? You will attack me? Your ship is barely holding together. Your shields are failing. Your weapons cannot scratch my hull. You are nothing, human. You are less than nothing. On the bridge of the eternal wrath, the matriarch's officers watched the exchange with interest. They had never seen a human before. The species was young, barely 100 years into space travel. They had no empire, no territory, no military power. By all logic, they should have been too afraid to even enter the battle zone. But here they were. One small ship against a dreadnought. And their commander was standing there, looking at the most powerful warship in the Kasari fleet, and refusing to back down. One of the officers leaned toward his colleague and whispered, "She's either very brave or very stupid." "Perhaps both," the other replied. Back on the Relentless, Lisa Grant was thinking fast. She could not win a direct fight against the dreadnought. That was obvious. But maybe she did not have to. Maybe there was another way. "Danny," she said quietly, not taking her eyes off the screen. "How close are the Vorthic ships that were covering us?" Danny checked his sensors. "The nearest one is a destroyer, about 3 minutes out. They are still engaging the Kasari gunships. Can you get a message to them without the dreadnought intercepting it?" Danny thought for a moment. "I can try using a tight beam transmission. It is risky, but it might work." "Do it. Tell them we need help. Tell them we need them to draw the dreadnought's attention away from us, even for a few seconds." Danny nodded and began working his console. Lisa turned back to the screen, where Zalessa was still waiting for a response. She needed to buy time. She needed to keep the matriarch talking. "You want to see what humans will do?" Lisa said. "Fine, I will tell you. We will do whatever it takes to save our people. We will fly through fire. We will fight impossible odds. We will die if we have to, but we will never, ever abandon them." Zalessa tilted her head, studying Lisa with those cold eyes. Pretty words. But words mean nothing in war. Only actions matter. Then watch my actions. On the Vorthic destroyer, Fleet Commander Kesseth received a human's message. He read it twice, making sure he understood. The humans were asking for help. They wanted him to distract the Kasari dreadnought so they could rescue their people. It was a crazy plan. The dreadnought was massive. It could destroy his ship with a single volley, and he had no reason to help the humans. They were strangers, outsiders. They meant nothing to the Vorthic Empire. But Kesseth could not stop thinking about what he had seen. A single ship, flying into the middle of a battle zone, fighting against impossible odds, all to save 32 civilians. He had been at war for his entire life. He had seen acts of courage and acts of cowardice, but he had never seen anything like this. "Torval," he said, "bring us alongside the human vessel. Full speed." Torval stared at him. "Fleet Commander, if we approach the dreadnought, they will fire on us. We cannot survive a fight with that ship." "I know," Kesseth said, "but I want to see what happens next." Back on the Relentless, Lisa saw the Vorthic destroyer approaching on her sensor display. It was coming fast, its weapons charging, and it was heading straight for the dreadnought. "Commander," Danny said, "the Vorthic ship is hailing us. Put them through." The screen split, showing both Zalessa and a new face. This one was Vorthic, with gray scales and ancient eyes. When he spoke, his voice was deep and calm. "Human Commander, I am Fleet Commander Kesseth of the Vorthic Empire. I have received your message." Zalessa's eyes narrowed. "Kesseth, what are you doing here? This is not your fight." Kesseth looked at her with something like contempt. "I am making it my fight, matriarch. I have decided to extend the protection of the Vorthic Empire to this human vessel and its crew." The bridge of the eternal wrath fell silent. No one had expected this. The Vorthic and the Khazari had been enemies for 300 years. They did not help outsiders. They did not involve other species in their war. And they certainly did not protect humans. You would start a three-way war for these insects? Celessa hissed. "If necessary," Kesseth replied. "But I do not think it will come to that. You are many things, Matriarch, but you are not stupid. If you fire on the humans now, you fire on me. And if you fire on me, my entire fleet will turn on you. The battle will change. I do not think you want that." Celessa's face twisted with rage. But she did not order her ships to attack, because Kesseth was right. She was not stupid. A three-way fight would devastate her fleet and give the Vorthic a massive advantage. Lisa watched the exchange, barely daring to breathe. She did not understand why Kesseth was helping them. She did not know what he wanted. But right now, she did not care. All that mattered was getting her people out. "Matriarch," she said, "release the wandering star. Let us take our people and leave. This does not have to end in more death." Celessa glared at her with pure hatred. But after a long moment, she made a gesture to one of her officers. On the sensor display, Lisa saw the tractor beam release. The wandering star was free. "Take them," Celessa said, her voice dripping with venom. "Take them and go. But know this, human. The next time we meet, I will destroy you. I will hunt down every human ship in the galaxy. And I will make your species pay for this insult." Lisa nodded slowly. "Understood." The screen went dark. On the bridge of the Relentless, everyone was staring at Lisa. They had just faced down the most powerful warship in the Khazari fleet, and they had won. Somehow, impossibly, they had won. "Pete," Lisa said quietly, "get us to the wandering star, now." Pete did not need to be told twice. The Relentless surged forward, racing toward the small research vessel. Behind them, the Vorthic destroyer held its position, keeping the dreadnought at bay. They were going to make it. They were actually going to make it. The USS Relentless closed the distance to the wandering star in less than 5 minutes. Pete Howard flew with everything he had, pushing the damaged ship through the chaos of the battle zone, while Danny Vega called out threats and obstacles. Lisa, Grant stood at the front of the bridge, watching the small research vessel grow larger on the screen. It was a civilian ship, maybe 1/10 the size of the Relentless. Its hull was scratched and dented from debris impacts, and its engines were dark. But it was intact, and the 32 people inside were still alive. "Docking clamps ready," Pete reported. "We are coming alongside now." The Relentless slowed as it approached the wandering star. Magnetic clamps extended from the cruiser's hull, reaching out to grab the smaller ship. There was a soft thump as the two vessels connected. "We have hard dock," Pete said. "Connection is secure." Lisa turned to her communications officer. "Amy, open a channel to the wandering star. Let them know we are here." Amy worked her console. A moment later, a voice came through the speakers. It was shaky and tired, but it was the most beautiful sound Lisa had ever heard. "This is Dr. Nancy Harper of the Wandering Star. Is someone there? Please, is someone there?" Lisa smiled for the first time in hours. "Dr. Harper, this is Commander Lisa Grant of the USS Relentless. We are here to take you home." There was a pause. Then the sound of crying. Not sad crying, but the kind of crying that came from relief and joy and the sudden knowledge that you were going to live. "Thank you," Dr. Harper said between sobs. "Thank you so much. We thought we were going to die." "Not today, Doctor." "Not on my watch." Lieutenant Maria Santos was already leading a medical team to the docking port. She was a small woman with dark hair and steady hands, and she was the best doctor in the fleet. As she moved through the corridors, she prepared herself for whatever she might find. The airlock opened, and Maria stepped onto the Wandering Star. The ship was dark and cold, with only emergency lighting to guide the way. She could smell fear in the air, the sharp scent of people who had been trapped and terrified for 3 days. She found them in the main cargo bay. 32 scientists huddled together, wrapped in blankets and holding each other for warmth. Some were crying. Some were praying. Some just stared at her with wide, disbelieving eyes. "I am Lieutenant Maria Santos," she said gently. "We are going to get you out of here. Can everyone walk?" Dr. Harper stepped forward. She was an older woman with gray hair and tired eyes. "Most of us can. We have 3 injured, but nothing life-threatening. We just need to get off this ship." Maria nodded. "Follow me. Stay close and stay calm. We will have you safe in a few minutes." The evacuation took less than 10 minutes. One by one, the scientists were led through the airlock and onto the Relentless. Crew members guided them to the medical bay and the crew quarters, giving them food and water and warm blankets. By the time the last person was aboard, the Wandering Star was empty. On the bridge, Lisa watched the evacuation on the internal cameras. She felt a wave of relief wash over her as she saw the scientists safely aboard. They had done it. They had actually done it, but they were not safe yet. "Commander," Danny said, "we have a problem. The Khazari dreadnought is moving. It is coming toward us." Lisa turned to the main screen. The Eternal Wrath was indeed moving, its massive bulk slowly turning to face the human ships. High Matriarch Zalessa had let them take the scientists, but she was not going to let them leave without a fight. "How long until they are in weapons range?" 4 minutes. Lisa looked at the Vorthic destroyer that was still holding position between them and the dreadnought. Fleet Commander Kesseth had risked everything to help them. She could not ask him to do more. "Open a channel to the Vorthic ship," she said. Kesseth's face appeared on the screen. He looked tired but satisfied. "Human Commander, I see you have retrieved your people. Well done. Thank you, Fleet Commander. I do not know why you helped us, but I am grateful." Kesseth was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke, and his voice was thoughtful. "I have been fighting this war for 60 years, human. I have seen millions die. I have lost friends and family and everything I cared about. And in all that time, I have never understood what we are fighting for." He paused. "But today, I saw something different. I saw a species that would fly into certain death for 32 civilians. I saw courage that had nothing to do with war or conquest or power. And I realized that maybe there is still something worth believing in." Lisa did not know what to say. She had come here to save her people, not to change the mind of an alien warlord. But somehow, she had done both. "We need to leave," she said. "The dreadnought is coming. Can you cover our retreat?" Kesseth nodded. "I will do what I can. But you must go now, before the matriarch decides to ignore the consequences and attack anyway." Lisa turned to Pete. "Maximum speed. Get us out of here." Pete was already working the controls. The Relentless detached from the Wandering Star, leaving the empty research vessel behind. Its engines fired, pushing the damaged cruiser toward the edge of the battle zone. Behind them, the Eternal Wrath continued its approach. Its weapons were fully charged now, glowing with deadly energy. High Matriarch Zalessa stood on her bridge, her eyes fixed on the fleeing human ship. "Shall I give the order to fire?" One of her officers asked. ZLESS considered it. She wanted to destroy that ship. She wanted to make the humans pay for what they had done. But Kesseth's destroyer was still in the way, and attacking would mean war on two fronts. "No," she said finally. "Let them go." For now, the officer nodded and stepped back. The dreadnought's weapons powered down. On the relentless, Danny Vega watched the Kasari ship on his sensors. "Commander, they are standing down. They are not going to fire." Lisa let out a breath she did not know she had been holding. "Good. How long until we clear the battle zone?" 22 minutes at current speed. It was the longest 22 minutes of Lisa Grant's life. Every second, she expected to see weapons fire on her screen. Every moment, she waited for the dreadnought to change its mind. But the Eternal Wrath did not attack. It just watched as the human ship fled. When they finally crossed the border of Sector 7 Gamma, the bridge erupted in cheers. Crew members hugged each other. Some cried. Some laughed. They had done the impossible. Lisa stood in the middle of it all, watching her crew celebrate. She was exhausted. Her uniform was stained with blood and smoke. Her body ached from the stress and the tension. But she was smiling. Chief Engineer Samuel Drake called from the engine room. "Commander, I do not know how, but the engines are still running. Barely. We are going to need a full refit when we get back. But we will make it. Thank you, Sam. You did good work today." "We all did." "Commander." Lisa looked at the main screen. The battle zone was behind them now. Just a distant glow of weapons fire in the darkness. Somewhere in there, the Vorthik and the Kasari were still killing each other, as they had for 300 years. But something had changed today. Something small, maybe, but something real. A human ship had entered the battle zone. It had faced down two alien empires. It had rescued its people. And it had done something no one had ever done before. It had made the aliens pay attention. Lieutenant Maria Santos appeared on the bridge. She looked tired but happy. "All 32 scientists are aboard and stable, Commander. Minor injuries only. They are going to be fine." Lisa nodded. "Good. Make sure they have everything they need." "Already done, Commander." Lisa turned back to the screen. Somewhere out there, the galaxy was watching. The story of what had happened in Sector 7 Gamma would spread. Other species would hear about the human ship that had done the impossible. And maybe, just maybe, they would start to wonder what else humans could do. "Navigation," Lisa said. "Set course for Earth. Best possible speed." Pete Howard smiled as he entered the coordinates. "Course set, Commander. Taking us home." The Relentless turned toward the distant star that humans called home. Its engines fired, and it began the long journey back to safety. Behind them, the war continued. Ahead of them, the future waited. And Lisa Grant knew that nothing would ever be the same. The USS Relentless arrived at the Galactic Council Station 6 days later. It was a massive structure, built in neutral space where all the species of the galaxy could meet and trade and argue about the rules that governed their civilization. Hundreds of ships surrounded it, from every corner of known space. And every single one of them was staring at the Relentless. Commander Lisa Grant stood on the bridge as her ship approached the docking bay. She could see the damage to her vessel reflected in the windows of the station. The hull was covered in burns and scars. One of the engine nacelles was barely functioning. The armor plating on the port side was almost completely gone, but the ship was still flying. And that was all that mattered. "Docking clearance granted," Amy Chun reported. "They are giving us priority approach." Lisa nodded. "Take us in." The Relentless slipped into the docking bay and settled into its berth. The engines finally went silent, and for the first time in days, the ship was at rest. Lisa took a deep breath and looked around her bridge. Her crew was exhausted. They were battered and bruised and running on nothing but determination. But they had done it. They had completed the mission. "All hands," she said over the intercom. "Well done. Get some rest. You have earned it. She did not wait to hear the replies. She had one more job to do. Ambassador Kevin Park was waiting for her at the airlock. He was a tall man with graying hair and the kind of face that never showed what he was thinking. He had been the human representative to the Galactic Council for 10 years, and he had learned how to deal with aliens who thought humans were too young and too stupid to matter. "Commander Grant," he said, shaking her hand. "Welcome to the station." "Thank you, Ambassador." Kevin looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled, just a little. "You know, when I heard what you did, I did not believe it. I thought someone was playing a joke on me. A single human ship entering the battle zone, facing down both the Vorthik and the Kasari. It sounded like something from a story." "It was not a story," Lisa said. "It was the job." "I know. And that is what makes it so impressive." They walked through the corridors of the station together. Kevin filled her in on what had been happening while she was in the battle zone. "The Council is not happy," he said. "You violated 17 treaties, crossed into restricted space, and engaged in combat with both sides of an ongoing war. The Khazari are demanding your arrest. They want to put you on trial for war crimes." Lisa's jaw tightened. "We defended ourselves. They fired first." "I know. And the Vorthik have backed up your version of events, which is causing quite a bit of confusion around here." Kevin shook his head. "No one can figure out why Fleet Commander Kesseth helped you. The Vorthik have never helped anyone. They certainly have never sided with another species against the Khazari." "I do not fully understand it myself," Lisa admitted. "He said something about seeing courage that had nothing to do with war. I think maybe he was tired of fighting and forgot what he was fighting for." Kevin considered this. Perhaps he saw something in humans that made him reconsider a few things. Either way, it is working in our favor. They entered a large conference room where several alien delegates were already seated. Lisa recognized representatives from the major powers. The Talari, with their silver skin and long fingers. The Bremoks, massive creatures covered in thick fur. The Sindari, small beings with large eyes and quick movements. And at the end of the table, a holographic display showing the face of Fleet Commander Kesseth. The room fell silent as Lisa entered. Kevin spoke first. "Delegates of the Council, this is Commander Lisa Grant of the USS Relentless. She is the officer responsible for the events in Sector 7 Gamma." A Talari delegate leaned forward. "Commander Grant, you have caused quite a disturbance. The Council has rules about the battle zone. Very strict rules. They exist to prevent the war from spreading to other sectors." Lisa stood straight and met his gaze. "I understand. But there were 32 human civilians trapped in that zone. The Council refused to authorize a rescue. What was I supposed to do? Let them die? The rules exist for a reason," the Talari said. "If every species ignored them whenever they found them inconvenient, there would be chaos. And if we abandon our own people whenever it is convenient, we are not worth saving." The room went quiet. The delegates exchanged glances. This was not the kind of response they were used to hearing from humans. The holographic image of Kesseth spoke. "I have something to say." Everyone turned to look at him. The Vorthik fleet commander had been silent until now, watching the proceedings with those ancient eyes. "I have been fighting the Khazari for 60 years, he said. "I have seen every species in this galaxy at one point or another. Some are brave. Some are clever. Some are strong. But I have never seen a species like the humans." He paused, letting his words sink in. "They sent one ship into the most dangerous place in the galaxy. One ship against 2 armadas. And they did not do it for territory or resources or power. They did it for 32 civilians. 32 ordinary people who would have died if no one came for them." Kesseth looked at Lisa, I helped them because I wanted to understand why. And now I think I do. Humans do not measure the value of life by numbers or statistics. Every single person matters to them. Every single life is worth fighting for. He turned back to the council. I do not know what the humans will become as they grow older and stronger. But I know this: I would rather have them as allies than enemies. I think the rest of you should consider the same. The room was silent for a long time. Finally, the Talari delegate spoke. Fleet Commander, are you suggesting that the Vorthic Empire wishes to open diplomatic relations with the humans? I am suggesting that someone should, before another species does first. After the meeting, Lisa Grant walked to the observation deck and looked out at the stars. She was tired, bone-deep tired, but she could not sleep. There was too much going on in her head. Ambassador Kevin Park found her there an hour later. The council has decided not to pursue charges, he said. The Kasari are furious, but without the Vorthic supporting them, they do not have enough votes. You are free to go. Lisa nodded slowly. And what about the future? Kevin stood beside her, looking out at the same stars. The Vorthic have formally requested diplomatic discussions with Earth. 3 other species have done the same. It seems your little adventure in the battle zone has made a lot of people interested in humanity. Interested how? Some are curious. Some are worried. Some want to be our friends, and some want to figure out how to stop us before we become too powerful. Kevin shrugged. Welcome to galactic politics. Lisa smiled slightly. I just wanted to save my people. I know. And you did. But you also did something else. You showed the galaxy what humans are made of. You showed them that we do not abandon each other, no matter the cost. He put a hand on her shoulder. The Relentless is going to be repaired and upgraded. When it is ready, you will be given a new mission. Exploration of the frontier beyond Council space. It is the most dangerous assignment in the fleet. Lisa looked at him. Are you asking if I want it? I am telling you that you already have it. Half the crew has volunteered to stay with you. The other half is trying to get transferred to your ship. It seems you have become quite popular. Lisa thought about the battle zone. She thought about the plasma bolts and the explosions and the moment when she truly believed they were all going to die. She thought about Kesseth and Zalessa and the Wandering Star, and she thought about the 32 scientists who were now safe and on their way home. When do we leave? She asked. Kevin smiled. As soon as the ship is ready. 2 months later, the USS Relentless departed from Earth orbit. It had been completely rebuilt, with new armor, new weapons, and new engines that could outrun almost anything in the galaxy. Its crew was the best in the fleet, volunteers who had fought for the chance to serve under Commander Lisa Grant. On the bridge, Danny Vega sat at his sensor station, already scanning the space ahead. Pete Howard was at the helm, ready to take them wherever they needed to go. And Lisa Grant sat in her command chair, looking out at the stars. Course laid in, Commander, Pete said. Ready to depart on your order. Lisa looked at her crew. They had been through hell together, and they had come out the other side. Whatever was waiting for them in the unknown frontier, she knew they would face it together. Engage, she said. The Relentless accelerated away from Earth, its engines blazing bright against the darkness. Ahead lay the frontier. Behind lay everything they had ever known, and somewhere out there, the galaxy was watching, wondering what the humans would do next.